So, Liz, it sounds like you really have gotten a rhythm yourself. I'm curious, where there's this whole alphabet soup now of all the different frameworks, as well as now there is a plethora of digital selling tools, processes, systems. What do you love? What can you not live without? What would you not take a job for if that company didn't have that process or digital tool?
This goes back to kind of the initial point of view where it's like just approach it as if you're a human. And something my husband laughs at me about is because he also has a bunch of friends who were former enterprise salespeople, and now they're all like entrepreneurs. But they were the kind of those salespeople that studied every book under the sun, regurgitated that information, and had it as their like sales dogma. I will read and follow whatever the institution or company I'm part of wants to instill and learn from that. But I also do not like to have one rhetoric or sales dogma that dictates my skills.
Mhm.
I think the beauty of sales is that really just value based selling. So, again, going to the customer and having a hypothesis and then figuring out if there's pain that you can solve and then discovering how you can do that together. And I think part of that is like consulting and like McKinsey based thinking where you have the expertise based on the software or the company that you work for to really help, and this person doesn't have that. So how do you like develop a roadmap together? One of the
So
things
that's
though
that's
that
more what we would call insight-based selling or trusted catalyst, where you have a strong point of view and you're coming forward with something. So what gave you
yeah
the confidence to do that? And is there any methodologies you follow around
yeah
questioning or even being confident, standing tall and looking someone in the eye? That's actually a skill that you've definitely
yeah
acquired along the way, and that to be an athlete someone coached you on it. It's someone's idea,
right
unless you were born with it, which that could be the thing.
maybe my parents for sure, but no, there are a couple methodologies that I really liked. One, they're both acronyms or alphabet soup, as you say. So SCIPAB is one of them, which
SciPad, and
stands
how do you spell that?
SCIPAB, SCIPAB,
Sci.
and it stands for situation, challenge, implication, pain, action, benefit. And
So that's like a
it's
spin set. I learned that back in the day, spin selling, which is actually the
yeah,
from Xerox. Yeah, so that's cool. That's going back really to the roots of
yes,
professional
going
selling.
back. Going back, going back. I think the other one that my current company really hones in on that I think a lot of companies do now is MEDDIC, MEDDICC,
Mhm.
as a way of qualifying your deals. Both are great. Um, the SciPab thing I use as a framework for outreach, cold outreach, and MEDDIC I use as a way to understand like, is this deal qualified? Should I be entering into this evaluation if I don't have like metrics or who the economic buyer is or the decision process? Like all of that is very, very good. Um, and I think like the other thing is using the software, if you're in a software sales role, using the software that your company is selling. Like if you are not using it and you don't see the benefit, how is another person that you're talking to going to?
Right.
And it also makes you better at your job because technically software is supposed to help in whatever capacity you're trying to, like whatever category you're selling, whether it's security or uh, productivity or AI, like learn that and be a master of it yourself.
But well, what if you were selling to an energy company and you were selling nuclear power plants? I mean, that wouldn't probably be as realistic. So what would your
No.
advice be, or what would your experience be, where it's not a consumer type of application? It's enterprise where it's really running, large systems.
With the heavy hitter question. Um, I think, you have to immerse yourself in that world just as you would a consultant. No, you're not going to be able to use nuclear power. But if you're in a sales position selling that to a government entity, what does that government entity care about? And why would they need something like nuclear power? And what books and experts and people can you immerse yourself in so that you are an expert of that field and feel like you know exactly what's going to happen? Almost like you're a surgeon going into surgery on someone's spine. Like you have to know everything to do that.
I love that word immerse. Like immerse, really, that's your advice. Is there any systems or processes that you would recommend that are actually planned out that are repeatable, where it teaches you to immerse yourself, or is this more of a passion type of skill?
I guess a bit of both. I have my own system, right? So one of the things that I do in all of the companies that I immerse myself in is try to organize an org chart. And I start by going online and looking at who the executive leadership is. And then I try to build out an org chart from all of those pillars. Every company has a different personality and a different way of being structured, but because I just can understand organizations via their people and their roles, that's how I am able to kind of pick apart and understand what this organization cares about. And sometimes I think about businesses as ecosystems, like these little macro economic fiefdoms in our global world. And the only way I can really understand what their business objectives are around like the people that are owning them. So that's like one part of my process. And then the second is the immersion in uh, like media and content. Like one of my customers is a top 5 Fortune company. There's Google alerts that I can set that I start to read everything that's coming up, podcasts that I can listen to, books that I can read or listen to. We live in an age where there is an overload of content, but we can use that to our advantage. Um, and so if you're in any company or any system, try to understand that vertical, try to understand who cares about it, become an expert in your field.
I love that. And the new actually a lot of the new digital tools that are coming out that people are investing in actually do aggregate and make some decisions on all of that, because that is one of the challenges is there's not enough time to read every article and be at every conference and the podcast. And I agree with you that that verbal content or in the moment, the questions after the earnings call, when you can aggregate all that, you really can get, I think you called it the culture or the ecosystem, and you can start to find those personalities. And so that might be an opportunity of where we could start seeing AI or other types of technologies give us some insights there so we can get some of our time back.
Yeah, and one of the other things now that you were speaking about that I do that I think is also something people should learn and bring into their practice is actually when you get to a part of a conversation in your discovery or in your evaluation um, of understanding like the business metrics that you're attaching to more than just hours saved, right? Like talking about if it's an employee benefit where you're actually reducing kind of outside contractor hire and you can save dollars by having internal hires or less hires in general. Or say, for example, it's a marketing play where you're increasing MQLs because you have a more efficient process as it relates to your event calendaring. Whatever that metric is, and there are thousands, building a model on it. And I didn't learn this until I was in consulting. And by no means am I like, an investment banker that can use Excel without a mouse. But there are tools out there that you can have help you build that model out. And it changes the entire narrative and cycle of the deal when you can come to the table with showing more than just hours saved, but what the model looks like for your product as it relates to the pain that they're solving for and like the actual quantitative analysis behind that. I know it's hard, but if you can figure that out, you become the wizard on that deal. And it comes from being the expert in immersing yourself in their needs.
Yeah, so tying back to value, so you have immersion and you're doing this discovery and coming up with the metrics, and then you're really creating that value map and that agreement with the customer of what value looks like. I also like your lens of being a consultant because I might think I know what my value metrics are, but if I can learn from you, maybe something I didn't think about because of your research or adjacent industry, you had mentioned, your media, and then you had some adjacent idea. That's where I would be interested in talking to you as a partner, really. That's what's helpful to me as a buyer.
Yeah, and that's all we are, right? We're just helping each other in our businesses. In the same way that I built like women in sales, I'm just trying to create community to help each other.
Awesome.